In my hands, I'm holding the most complicated watch Chopard has ever built. I am in the manufacturer at Chopard in Geneva. This is the L.U.C Grand Strike, which I actually prefer to be calling the most consequential watch from Chopard because it's also celebrating the 30th anniversary of Chopard manufacture. 30 years ago in the 90s, mechanical watches weren't that hot, and the Schäufele family back then made the very brave decision to invest in first an in-house caliber and then sequentially into entire manufacturer. This is the result of 30 years doing in-house movements and building watches the way they are supposed to be. It's a Grande Sonnerie with 685 parts. It comes with a tourbillon. You can actually switch between a silent mode, a Petite Sonnerie, and a Grande Sonnerie. And what is something that I really admire, this is a COSC certified watch, which means precision and accuracy has been as important as the quality of the sound, which brings me to Chopard is the only manufacturer that is using sapphire gongs plus newly designed hammers for the minute repeater or the Grande Sonnerie. But more importantly, this is a masterclass in actually looking at a manufacturer's build. A intellectual property is built up over the years and leads from one innovation to the other. And that's something that we're going to be looking at today. I not only got to wear the watch, which is even in my career, over 20 years of handling watches, this is not happening too often. So getting to wear a watch like that is really a peak experience that you don't get to share too often. So I'm very excited about that. But even better, I got to talk to someone from the technical team about the many patents that went into that watch. And you're going to be learning all the details of this exceptional piece that I got to wear today, the L.U.C Grand Strike from Chopard.
Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell to get our latest notifications.
According to Alfred Schäufele, the inspiration behind using sapphire for a chiming watch was based on clinking glasses when toasting. And I think it's a very fitting metaphor to see this watch as a toast to not only Horlogerie, but also the history of Chopard during the last 30 years. Obviously, we didn't jump from zero to this. We had the L.U.C Strike 1 in 2006. We had the L.U.C Full Strike in 2016, and we're also seeing a pattern here when it comes to celebrating the 10th, 20th, or 30th anniversary of the manufacturer at Chopard. This story is not only about Haute Horlogerie's highest level of complication. I think it's much more about reflecting on 3 decades of decisions that have, step by step, shaped one of the watch industry's role models when it comes to independent watchmaking and in-house production capabilities. And I think it's important to tell that this watch that we're showing here is a prototype. I mean, this is as close to the final watch that is possible, but still it's a prototype. So we're going to be obviously seeing quick change straps with the final piece, maybe minor changes from what we're seeing here, but it's important to say that we got to handle a prototype, not one of the very few pieces that are going to be made in the coming years for a few select collectors worldwide. The L.U.C Grand Strike features a Grande Sonnerie, which strikes the full complement of hours and quarters. But the watch can also be switched to the less chime-intensive Petite Sonnerie mode, which strikes the hours only at the 60-minute mark and solely the quarters every 15 minutes thereafter. And for those looking for even more discretion, the L.U.C Grand Strike can be entirely silenced, and the watch will strike the time only when its minute repeater function is manually activated with the pusher that's integrated into the crown. The 3 different modes are indicated on the dial side with a G for Grande Sonnerie, a P for Petite Sonnerie, and a S for silence mode. Chopard has combined the gongs and the dial crystal, which means they are machined out of a single piece of sapphire crystal. So when the sapphire crystal gongs are struck by the hammers, they vibrate in concert with the dial crystal, which is channeling as a result the sound directly towards the exterior of the watch and is therefore avoiding energy dissipation through the movement or case. Which is a different take on how Grande Sonneries are built. This way the sound is actually being brought upwards to the sapphire dial, which is disconnecting the entire thematic from what material is being used for the case. In addition, and instead of round cross-sections seen in traditional steel gongs, the sapphire crystal gongs here have a square cross-section which should increase the area for contact between the sonnerie hammers and the gongs. Machining the gongs and the glass set alone required more than 3 years of development, and for those that remember, in 2022, Chopard even went a step further with the L.U.C full strike with a sapphire case, which was housed entirely in the transparent case. In this case, the sapphire crystal gongs were struck over 500,000 times during testing. Thankfully, we not only get to enjoy the L.U.C Grand Strike acoustically, we also get to see almost the entire movement on the dial side. And we're talking about a 686 component manual winding caliber called the L.U.C 0803L, which is almost entirely visible when worn on the wrist. At 10 o'clock, obviously, we have the 2 polished steel hammers, which clearly indicate the chiming nature of this watch. But then at 6 o'clock, we have a 60-second tourbillon, which also serves as a hacking second, which in return was one of the requirements for the COSC certification. When fully wound, the sonnerie barrel provides 12 hours of uninterrupted function when in the chime-intensive Grande Sonnerie mode. The main power reserve of 70 hours is also noteworthy for such a complex watch, especially considering its balanced frequency. The 0803L beats at 4 Hz, which is 28,800 vibrations per hour, which might be standard for a sports watch or a regular watch, but certainly not considered normal for a complicated watch of this level. Also noteworthy, the plates and bridges of the movement are in traditional German silver, which is beautiful to look at, but really a pain to work with as a watchmaker. The movement measures 10.41 millimeters in thickness, which is only 0.41 millimeter higher than initially briefed, but all to benefit the visual appeal of the watch, which means there is a bit more of a dimensional aspect that goes into the movement, which also, for those interested in knowing, has 74 inward angles. 5 new patents were specifically developed for this watch, and we're going to be talking about those in a minute. 2 of them relate to usage security, allowing the wearer to activate the chiming mechanism at any time without damaging the movement, and to switch between chiming modes without introducing inaccuracies into the time display. The other 3 new patents are strictly focused on performance optimization. A new energy-efficient clutch mechanism, for example, was created to reduce the torque needed to launch the sonnerie chime. Another patent is dedicated to a mechanism that blocks sonnerie activation if there is insufficient torque, thereby avoiding the possibility of an incomplete or partial chime. The last one redefines the shape of the striking hammers, changing their moment of inertia to minimize any potentially damaging impact on the sapphire crystal gongs should an accidental shock occur. We are joined today by Florent from the technical department of Chopard. Looking back, what were the biggest challenges for you in this project? You already had experience with minute repeaters, you already had experience with sapphire. Now we have a Grande Sonnerie that is on top. What was the biggest challenge or the one thing that maybe made more headaches than everything else?
2 challenges. I think the one is the Petite Sonnerie mode. It wasn't so easy because we had to have this mechanism to have no delays between hours,
no dead
quarters,
periods in between.
Yeah, no dead periods between. And that was quite a challenge. The second one is a fun one.
Which basically means that everything was a challenge, because now we have challenge number 1, challenge number 2, challenge number 1.
Exactly. The selector switch. The challenge was interesting because when we had the first prototype, it was like a game. It's very fun to use. But the first prototype, we had a bad surprise. The grande bascule, when you switch between sonnerie modes and silent, it goes up and goes down and up and down. And we were just playing like
you do with a watch like that.
And we discovered that this grande bascule acts like a hammer on the quarter star on the center. The cannon pinion wears the minute hand. So the hand slightly goes counterclockwise as we were playing. So we said, oh no, that's not fair, that's not good. We must secure this activation because we want the client to just switch the mode and nothing is wrong with the hands. And so for this, we think of a pen like this. And there's a first activation and it goes in an intermediate position. And if you push again, you will go backwards because we said, okay, we must slow down this grande bascule that goes like a hammer and then locks it in an intermediate position. This intermediate position can be in the next quarter, unlock and then chime again.
And I think from what I've been told is that you had to redesign the hammers.
Yes, we had to add more components on the watch, so the gongs slightly go up, and we said, no, we can do a huge hammer, very thick. That's not a good idea, that's not good energetically speaking. And so it's very interesting because it's a bike bell, and it's only a small wire of metal that hits the bell, and still it's a very nice sound, and it's working very well.
It's effective.
It's effective.
It has saved countless lives in traffic with a bike bell, but I did not expect that to be the inspiration behind it, to be honest.
So we said we must try to not only make the same hammers that they were in the full strike, just say, okay, let's do the same mass or inertia, but let's go further, and it works very well. And what's interesting with the hammers, it's if you do something very thick, you will have one result like this, but another one like this, because the hammers want to go near the gongs, but you will have also another result because now they want to go down.
Yep.
And so if it's lighter, those variations are much less effective, and so that's a good thing, really.
I mean, what's fascinating, both on an acoustic but also on a visual level, this watch is built from below to the top. So the same as we have the sound being emitted towards the crystal and upwards, the same goes for the design of the entire movement. So you have that open-worked dial, which shows you pretty much everything that you need to see. You have the hammers, you see the tourbillon, you see everything going on. It is a very from the bottom to the top oriented watch, both acoustically but also visually. And that's something that I think also sets this piece apart from other Grande Sonneries. We're also seeing a slightly different case design here. It tries to balance the 43 millimeters that we have, which still is on paper. It's quite a substantial watch, but if you have it on the wrist, if you see it in front of you, it plays quite cleverly with those 43 millimeters, and that's a very wearable watch. And I think you, with the patents that you have contributed to this project, you made sure that it not only works cleverly with the design, but also is a very easy to use and safe to use watch. And I think that's something that really stands out.
What I like is when the repeater strikes, you can see the wheels turning on this side of the movement. So it's not only on this side that you see things happen, the racks are moving, it's like a dance, but you can see also on this side, these chime wheels.
Yeah. Now you have to make a decision, are you going to watch the hammers or are you going to watch the other side? But the good thing is if you own a watch like that, you can obviously operate it as many times as you'd like to. For us, it's different. We have the rare occasion to have this watch in front of us, which is something that I have. This is now the third time I'm seeing this watch. I don't know how many more times I'm going to be seeing it. I am expecting it to be part of the exhibition of the Grand Prix, so that might be my fourth time. And obviously, those 2 to 3 people a year that are fortunate enough to own such a creation, obviously. How proud are you and the team of this product? Is this the peak, something where we went and we won the Champions League?
It was a very nice journey, very interesting, very challenging, but my work is to climb other summits, and but this
so
one was very...
You're already working on something that is more complicated, more challenging. That's what you're saying. Good. Okay, so we have something to look forward to in the future. So this watch is perhaps the most complicated, but definitely not the last super complicated watch that we're going to be seeing from Chopard, because the groundwork is there. And the knowledge that was built over the last 3 decades will make sure that we're going to be seeing even more fascinating pieces from Chopard in the future. So I'm raising my glass to that. We hope you got to enjoy both the watch and the video. If you did, please leave a comment. And even if you didn't, please leave a comment, because we really like to engage with you. So leave a like, feedback, comments. If you have questions, even more importantly, please do so as well in the comment section. We're making sure to answer those as quickly as possible. We're looking forward to a conversation, because obviously this is not a piece that you're just going to be walking into a boutique and buy, but this is perhaps one of the best examples to show what the passion about mechanical watchmaking and haute horlogerie is, if you focus purely on the mechanical innovation that is behind. Thank you so much.